U.S. Tzu Chi headquarters hold the second session of COVID-19 screening for volunteers. In Cambodia, Tzu Chi volunteers have distributed food to the locals living at the landfill. Selamat datang ke Diet Headlines, saya Simon Gan. Terima kasih menyertai sesi berita kita. Welcome to Diet Headlines. Thank you for joining us. U.S. Tzu Chi headquarters held the second session of COVID-19 screening towards 165 Tzu Chi volunteers. Here's more.
Without getting out of the car, the people in the car just have to roll down their window and stick out their hand to get tested for COVID-19.
Everyone can stay inside their car and the nurse will take a sample blood specimen. The results are out in about 10 to 12 minutes. On average, it's 12 minutes.
U.S. Tzu Chi headquarters had a free COVID-19 screening for 100 community members towards the end of July, and the second session was held at the end of August, directed at their own Southern Californian Tzu Chi volunteers.
Only with a healthy body can we help others. Our incurred fees are paid by the volunteers' donations, and we are very thankful for them. And because of their donation, we're able to host this event without spending any of the money from the foundation itself.
The screening kit approved by the FDA has a 95% chance of accuracy.
So when you get infected but did not have immunity, then your IgM will be positive. But after practically a month, the IgM will be gone and IgG will maintain.
For me, because I work in the hospital, so it's important for me to know that I'm negative to be able to protect our patients as well.
We will know that if we can go out or not, because we don't really want to spread out the disease to someone else.
The 4 doctors are the final step of this process as they inform the people of the results by phone calls. In total, in just a little over 10 minutes, your COVID screening is done.
In California, the Tzu Chi Community Clinic in Wilmington is still closed for consultation, but some patients with chronic diseases still need to collect their medication. Therefore, volunteers continue to distribute masks and epidemic prevention supplies to the patients.
The reason we are here today is our Harbor Job Center. It's because recently we are awarded by the LA Harbor, and we decided to use the money to purchase some cloth masks, and we know this group of people are usually forgotten.
Today, thanks to your organization, Tzu Chi, we were able to give out masks to every worker that came and got some vegetables.
I work a construction job, and right now the pandemic has affected my work. There are days when there's work available and other days when there are no tasks.
Yes, I've been affected because before I was able to work outside, like cleaning houses or selling various products. But during this pandemic, I wasn't able to because I have to take care of my children at home. I'm sure the mask will protect my family and my kids, as well as protecting me from other people who may have the virus. I feel very safe wearing a mask.
It's a great help to the families without jobs. And apart from this, everything in supermarkets is very expensive, and this helps us a lot to not spend more on what we don't have.
I'm here today because it's very important to tell to the people wear the mask, especially in this pandemic, for all the people who are some diseases like cholesterol, high pressure, diabetes, cancer.
We are diabetics and we don't want to catch the virus from other person. We don't go any place. We go, in my case, I go need to dialysis, doctor appointments, hospital, and today here. Like my mother-in-law, so it's pre-diabetic, and it's good to help her too, because it's for our health, you know?
We are very grateful
that organizations like Tzu Chi are actually with the community, helping our community, our residents, and that's very important to us.
The latest stop for the environmental education vehicle is at Hualien's Tzu Chi University. 13 township sanitation team members were in attendance, and many of them come into contact with recycled materials every day, and were surprised to find that they can be turned into clothes and blankets.
Both feet are struggling to generate electricity, and you will soon be out of breath.
I have been pedaling for a long time, and it will take 10 hours to get 1 kilowatt of electricity.
The Hualien County Environmental Education Ambassador came to Tzu Chi University to visit the environmental education vehicle.
We can use our hands to do recycling and environmental protection, not just speaking slogans with our mouth.
How to change from PET bottles to yarn, the machine on the vehicle demonstrates directly. This demonstration was really interesting to see in person as sanitation team members from Hualien County came to observe. They're very familiar with the recyclables, but they also learned a lot during the visit.
What the cleaning team brings back, they simply hand over to the recycling company. They don't know how it's dealt with and how it's reused. They are now taking this opportunity to learn. They can now go back and talk to team members who may be even more motivated to do recycling.
They are the first line of recycling, and if they can understand it in greater depth, then they will learn that the work they do now is very meaningful.
This environmental education vehicle spreads knowledge ranging from PET bottles to electricity and water resources. It helps explain concepts of environmental protection and recycling from beginning to end, so that everyone's actions can protect the earth.
After the epidemic outbreak, the Ministry of Health and Welfare established an epidemic care center to care for the mental condition of the public. The volunteers made telephone calls every day to care about the people in quarantine. As the demand for manpower increased, such volunteers officially joined in early September.
Fan Bo-Xin, who is a 30-year-old nurse working in acute intensive care units, keeps calling people in quarantine to care about their recent status. His caring action has been lasting for more than 200 days.
How are you doing recently? It should not be easy during the quarantine period. I have received a call, which is from an art professor at a university. I probably chatted with him for almost an hour, but after the chat, he was in a better mood.
With the increase in manpower demand, after receiving professional training, Tzu Chi volunteers officially joined the ranks of epidemic care hosted by the Ministry of Health and Welfare.
How's your health recently? Have you had a fever?
These 14 days may not be easy for them, especially for their mood and various aspects of daily life. We hope to care for them through the phone so that they can have peace of mind.
Tzu Chi volunteers' caring specialty are actually very close to that of nursing staff. Both of them are caring for people.
The minister personally praised the national team of volunteers for epidemic prevention and care. The shortest service hours were over 100. With the power of listening, the panic and anxiety of the people during the quarantine period were stabilized.
With the domestic COVID-19 epidemic slowing, there has been an explosion of domestic travelers to Penghu, Shaoliuqiu, Jinmen, and Matsu. This has not only impacted the lives of local residents, but also the ecology. Today, we take you to Guishan Island, which only allows 1,800 visitors a day, with no tourists allowed to stay on the island, minimizing the damage on the island.
Epidemic prevention measures need to be taken, as well as a limit on the number of daily visitors. Guishan Island cannot accept more than 1,800 tourists visiting the island each day.
I made an appointment 2 weeks ago online. I signed up first, that's why we're allowed to visit.
Half an hour later, we arrive at Guishan Island.
There are 1,800 people allowed a day. In fact, the time for tourists to visit Guishan Island is a maximum of 100 minutes. We try to control their tourist movements with different time periods.
During the course of the trip, along with their brief stay, tourists actually leave very little rubbish but still have good memories.
Xiaoliuqiu, Kinmen, Matsu are all very different, as there's very little rubbish here.
The vast majority of tourists who come to visit Guishan Island come to Guiwei-Hu Lake. The regional ecological area has been open for 20 years and is still well preserved, and there is not much pollution. However, most areas of Guishan Island are not open to tourists. The open area for tourists on Guishan Island is limited to the area of Guiwei-Hu Lake, which occupies a small part of the island.
The open area of Guishan Island is less than 10% of the island. It is a fixed area. Tourists who come to the island can only follow the guide to walk in this designated area.
There is no change in the number of tourists allowed. At present, Guishan Island takes Wednesday off and then one session of the year as well to let Guishan Island rest.
From December to February, the entire Guishan Island is closed for ecological restoration.
After going to the island after it was closed, in March there were a lot of Eurasian hoopies, a lot of ducks and various migratory birds.
How to balance tourism and ecology? This place in Taiwan, Guishan Island, is a good case as it is indeed an ecological island.
In 2000, Guishan Island opened for tourists. Initially, just 250 people were able to visit, and now 1,800 people come daily, as the amount of garbage has increased dramatically.
Our cleaners will collect it and then sort it and transport it back to Taiwan.
Guishan Island has a reputation of being a marine ecological park, but before it was opened 20 years ago, it was once a military control zone, and outsiders could not approach. It's a military tunnel on Guishan Island. It is 800 meters long. In fact, the military control area of Guishan Island was not open to the public until 2000. At present, a 90mm anti-aircraft artillery can be seen here. The former military facilities are now a tourist attraction. The military sentry in the picture is 3 meters high, and the mountain is 398 meters above sea level. Therefore, it is named 401. Which is the highest peak of Guishan Island, attracting tourists from far away to climb the mountain, but only 100 people are allowed every day.
Guishan Island has grass and trees on the top and some stones on the shore that are not allowed to be taken away. The fine is $150 or more. If you cause damage that cannot be restored, the highest penalty is actually $150,000.
Strict enforcement of the law hopes to protect the balance between tourism and ecology. However, there have been dozens of private yachts off the waters of Guishan Island on holiday.
Slowly this year, there will be more private yachts that will approach the most beautiful Mule Lake on Guishan Island for diving.
Tourists on private yachts do not apply to land on the island. Therefore, the government stipulates that they can only play in the waters and are not allowed to go on shore. However, there are still people who sneak onto the island, slipping past control and even raising safety issues.
Private yachts see some go diving in the ocean, and there is no sign and no boat to take care of them. Sometimes, private yachts drivers come up from the bottom of the sea to watch whales and fishing boats and will cause a lot of trouble.
As long as you are diving, you will be punished in accordance with management if you fail to follow the water recreation management regulations.
Unable to travel abroad, domestic tourism is also causing some problems. Releasing pressure on the beautiful scenery, tourism needs to be properly planned with the ideals and ambitions so that scenery and geology in Taiwan will be sustainable and exist for the next generation.
In Cambodia, there are people who live near a landfill and scavenge for a living. Due to the epidemic, the items picked by the residents cannot be sold for a good price. To help lessen these residential financial burdens, Tzu Chi volunteers have distributed food at the landfill.
My life has been harsh for the past several months. Life has been difficult during the pandemic. Shops do not buy the items I pick up, or they buy it at very low price. I still have to sell them, or else I would not have anything to eat.
Pig's words reflect the situation of the residents of the landfill. City volunteers have heard about their situations. The volunteers have brought a lot of supplies, which are mostly food besides masks. It is because they want to ensure the residents do not go hungry.
I'm very grateful to Tzu Chi. Tzu Chi volunteers care about the residents and they help lessen the burdens encountered by the people.
Under the pandemic, volunteers seized the opportunity to promote vegetarianism.
To mark the Ancestors' Day, you can adopt the vegetarian diet if you want to accumulate merit. Embracing vegetarianism means less killing. In addition, if you eat too well, you'll develop 3 highs. So let's start with a vegetarian meal a day.
Tzu Chi volunteers said that we should not eat meat, thanks to Tzu Chi volunteers' kind thoughts. After going home, I will make a vegetarian meal a day and some vegetarian meals a week.
The supplies have lessened the residents' burdens. This instant noodle means a lot to this child.
Having received these supplies, I can save up on living expenses. There is rice, instant noodles, and soy sauce. I do not need to buy them anymore. I can save a lot of money.
Despite their harsh life, the residents are willing to make donations to help other less fortunate people and spread love.
Due to the epidemic, Tzu Chi volunteers were forced to suspend the distribution of care packages to people in need in Hong Kong for 3 weeks. Worried about the lives of the disadvantaged residents, volunteers decided to send 1,200 supplies to 6 social welfare institutions to dispense.
The coronavirus epidemic has disrupted the normal operation of Tzu Chi volunteers in Hong Kong. To overcome obstacles, they have developed a compromise to keep up their efforts.
At the beginning of July, when the epidemic broke out again, we stopped the distribution for about 3 weeks. Many grassroots families still need material aid. We decided to send the supplies to local charities for onward passing to those in need.
Masks, rice soap, jingsa food, jingsa aphorisms, and encouragement to pursue a veggie diet were divided into 1,200 care packages, with volunteers completing the packing work in just 2 days.
The epidemic has severely affected the economy and many people are unemployed because of this. That's why we should help them right away.
These boxes of materials were transported from Jingsa Hall in Kowloon by 2 recycling trucks, but in the process they also encountered some problems.
This tree is over 100 years old. Experts confirmed that it was invaded by fungus, and I was surprised that it fell down today. I was very upset.
The trucks were blocked by a fallen tree as volunteers had to unload supplies and carefully pass through the gap in the tree trunk and transport the supplies to another car to continue the delivery.
The master often tells us that it's never too late. Every minute is never too late as we still have the opportunity to give and feel grateful.
And if there's heavy rain on the road, this will not hinder the progress of distribution as 6 welfare institutions will be visited non-stop as everyone is living in the moment and giving solid support to people in need.
During the 7th lunar month, Tzu Chi volunteers from New Taipei City's Tucheng as well as Ban Chao Sparta both held blessing ceremonies in their community. Let's take a look.
At the blessing ceremony for the month of auspiciousness, Tzu Chi volunteers from the Bade Jingsi Hall in Taoyuan have arranged for a lion dance as well as a Taiwanese puppetry show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if everyone is doing well, then what do you say? Let's kick it up a notch by doing Tzu Chi.
Da'a anchor Ni Minjun, who is also known for his vocal skills, sings a signature song of his and also invites everyone to adopt a vegetarian diet like he has.
If we abstain from eating meat for a whole year, that's akin to planting 82 trees for the planet. This type of numbers, which are more concrete, has us feeling shocked.
While the activities indoors are informative, the activities outside are entertaining. There are gaming booths set up with games made from recycled materials, and also a DIY vegetarian cuisine area where people can try their hand at making their own food.
When we look up, we should repent to the sky. When we look down, we should bow in respect for the earth. We must get more people to join the vegetarian campaign before it's all too late.
Meanwhile, in Tuchen's Qingshi Activities Center, there is also another blessing ceremony going on, where the community's instrumental groups are performing. Actor Tzu Chi volunteer Lin Naihua, who is also the host, is quite entertaining and has the crowd's attention. Not only disproving the superstitions about Ghost Month, but filling the stories with correct thinking, she also encourages everyone to do the right thing.
We can help one another and make sure our own responsibility is done well, especially in terms of eating vegetarian food. I've slowly begun to eat mostly vegetables now.
Everyone leaves the event with a fulfilled heart, ready to spread the word about vegetarianism.
In the Philippines, due to the pandemic, many jeepney drivers are forced to stay in their own jeepneys for almost half a year because they are unable to pay for the house rent. Upon learning their situation, she volunteers held an aid distribution to provide for the affected families. Besides the railroad tracks, life seems to be in a standstill. A row of jeepneys are not providing transportation anymore, but now serving as homes.
These days, I can only borrow money from other jeepney drivers to buy rice and feed my children. Life has always been difficult, but the pandemic has made it even more unbearable.
Although we are allowed to head back on the road to work again, there are no customers. People are still afraid of the pandemic and are all staying at home.
They do not have the money to pay for their house rent, so many jeepney drivers live in their own jeepneys with their families. Most of them thought it was only temporary, but it has already been half a year now.
We can put it this way. Due to the pandemic, the jeepney industry can't hold on much longer.
I'm 74 years old now and still need to work to feed my family. I have zero income right now and life's really hard. Thank you, Tzu Chi, for the assistance.
Upon receiving the rice aid, this generous family cooks for those who are also living on the streets.
We are all the same. We are all suffering and know how hard starvation feels, so we need to help each other. I believe that others would do the same too.
Under the pandemic, human beings might be fragile, but humanity can also shine during the pandemic. In Yunling, a food manufacturer organized a vegetarian feast in conjunction with the auspicious 7th lunar month. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you and goodbye.